Okay, this is the very beginning of Onshape CAD modeling tutorials. In this one, we are going to be learning the basics of sketches and extrusions, which is the fundamental that you need to get going to create 3D geometry. What we're going to be making is a simple die. Now, it's very simple, except it has, instead of a 1, it has a lightning bolt on the top of it, but we'll handle that as well. So once you're inside of Onshape, click Create and make a new document. We're going to name this Flash Die. All right, now I prefer to sketch on the top, and so click on that top plane and then click Sketch right here in the corner. All right, and then if you click right there, you can normalize where you see and you're looking straight down, or hit the N button. Now, since the first thing we're going to need is a 2D representation of what we're going to turn into 3D, simple square, click on the origin and we're going to expand the square from that. Now, it doesn't matter, how it looks initially, so let's do this. I've already gone ahead and measured this die. It's 0.545 inches. Now, we can go ahead and type that same value on the other side, or we can say, I want that side and that side to be equal to one another. And once everything is black, it means you're fully constrained and you're ready to turn it into a 3D piece of geometry. So let's go ahead and check that. You can see it's just a 2D sketch, and we're going to click that sketch and say extrude. And we don't want it to be an inch. We want it to be, again, 0.545, since those are the dimensions of the die. Now, what I've done is I changed from the default blind extrusion, where it comes just in one direction, to symmetric. And what that's going to do is that will help us keep the origin right in the center of the die. Everybody has their preference of how they like to sketch things differently. This is going to help us out as we're trying to get all of those dots to line up on the different sides of the die. So click that. Now we have a cube with which to work. I'm going to consider this the top. We'll go to the bottom. Okay, let's click Sketch again, and this time, instead of clicking over here on our cube to orient, let's type N. And it just gave us a quick view right there at the face. So let's go back. We're going to drop a construction rectangle here, and that is so that we can keep all of our dots and our dimensions lined up appropriately. Now, this is not something that you could extrude and turn into 3D geometry. Let's say that it's 1/4 of an inch on each side. We'll make those equal to each other again. So now that's your square that we're going to drop our dots onto. So there's a dot, there's a dot, and there's a dot. You can see how I locked it to those corners, why I put that construction square on there. But of course, they're different sizes. So what we can do in Onshape, click the escape button to get away from that circle. Now we're back to just a regular cursor. Click, click, click. We have all 3 of them highlighted. We can hit this equals button again, which we've used a couple of times. Now they're all the same size, but they can move. We can change whatever size that we want them to be. In this case, I think I want each of them to be about 0.1 inches. So let's click our dimension tool, or the hotkey is the letter D. And let's say it's 0.1. Now, the reason everything is kind of tilted sideways is because it was just oriented that way as I dropped it in. You'll get used to it. Okay, so there is our 3, as you can see. The next thing we need to do is remove material for where those dots are. You can see the 3 is recessed. So let's remove that material. The default is to add. Let's go back to what that looks like. And that's clearly not what we want. So let's remove. Default is an inch. I don't want it to be an inch. I want it to be about 0.02 inches, just enough to take it in off the surface and to let us know what it is. Click the check mark, and there is our 3 on our die. I'm going to go ahead and add the numbers on each of these sides as well. You can see we've added the die faces, everything except for the lightning bolt. So let's go onto the top here. Let's go back into Sketch, Shift S, or you click the Sketch button that was there just a moment ago, and click N to get a good normal look at it. Now you can see that we're tilted what we're going to consider sideways, depending on where you place the front and the right datums. So let's drop a rectangle in here. You can either click here or the R, and let's say, let's actually leave this for just 1 second. Let's make the sides equal to each other. So I click the E button, or the E key, or I've hit that. Now it's going to stay a square. Now at this time, instead of dimensioning it to itself and specifying the size, I'd rather say how far I want it from the edge. So I can click on this line, I click on that edge right there, and I'm going to say I want it 0.03 inches from the edge. Okay. Now it's all black, that means it's constrained, and I am just going to use this line tool to very quickly sketch a lightning bolt. Now if you watch, as soon as something goes orange on here, it means that it's trying to snap a constraint there. In this case, it's saying that this is going to be on the same plane as the origin there. I don't necessarily want that, so as long as there's no orange, I'm okay. It doesn't matter where I put everything down. You can see it's orange because I am snapping to that point where I want to close it up. Now, since nothing is constrained here, I can freely move these lines. They're going to try to snap some constraints if I get close to things. That is hugely beneficial inside of Onshape, as it tells you about where you're going to snap things. But really, I'm just going to do this until I'm comfortable with how it looks. I'm not going to add any dimensions or anything to it. This is just kind of a visual feel. So once that lightning bolt's completely done, there it is. I'm going to click on Sketch 7, and just like the other things you saw, I am going to remove, and I'm going to do that same 0.02. So there is my flash die, and it is all ready to move onto the 3D printer as soon as we want.